Welcome back. This week, a Madison legislator called for a new task force to address missing and murdered African-American women and girls. Joining us now is that legislator herself, the first black state representative to represent Dane County in the state capitol, Shelia Stubbs, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Will, for this necessary interview.
So I want to first ask, can you just tell us a little bit about your goal with the creation of this task force?
The reason I introduced this legislation is that there's a clear problem in our state of Wisconsin that sees African-American women and girls missing and murdered at disproportionately higher rates than white counterparts. And so this task force that is going to be comprised of 19 members, we're bringing together legislators, law enforcement officers, representatives from organizations that provide legal services, representatives of organizations that already provide targeted services to African-American women and girls, such as advocacy and counseling, violence prevention, and victim services. So I think it's critical that we have a perspective of every key stakeholder who will help us formulate a concrete plan to bring an end to these inequitable and violent outcomes. So I am excited to tell you that when I introduced this legislation on the 10th, it is bipartisan legislation. It is two Republicans that are co-authors. So I really want to thank Representative Michael Schraw, who is my colleague. And I want to thank Senator Jesse James and Senator LaTanya Johnson, who are co-authors. And this legislation is bipartisan. And we are really excited about that because it gives this piece of legislation an opportunity to get a potential hearing, to get into different committees, to make it to the floor, to hopefully become law and get this necessary creation done of a task force and begin to address the underlying issues that I think have led us to some of the daunting disparities.
Late last year, our neighbors in Minnesota released a report on a similar task force highlighting a number of disparities between the rates of black women and white women to be murdered in that state. Their report found that black women and girls have been speaking and sharing their expertise, but have not often been heard. From your experience, is that similar to what we're seeing here in Wisconsin?
Absolutely. And first and foremost, I want to thank the former Representative Richardson. We reached out to her office to talk to her, and I commend the state of Minnesota for really being a leader in this work. I think it's time that Wisconsin take our position of the 90,333 black women that were murdered. 33.5% were murdered women. That's 5 women were killed a day. And Wisconsin has the highest number of disparate numbers. And so it's time that we begin to address an issue that's right here in our state.
Now, that report also recommended establishing a missing and murdered African-American women office, increasing coordination between state agencies, making improvements to emergency and long-term housing options. As someone with human services experience, do you see issues currently with interagency communication and coordination here?
Well, and I'm glad you said that. Being a local elected official for 16 years, working at the county, I can share with you it's really difficult to get agencies to share data, right? Because no one wants to be blamed. But I can say in Dane County, we did a wonderful job under the leadership of County Executive Joseph Parisi of putting MOUs together, memorandum of understanding, and really being clear about what we're looking for.
And while we've got you, I have to ask, we've had on County Exec Parisi last week to talk about his upcoming retirement. Do you have any plans to run for his job?
Thank you so much for asking me. I've been asked a lot of questions. I am focusing on being the state representative for the 77th Assembly District. I love my district. Constituents have been so wonderful to me. So I'm focusing on being the state representative, but thank you for asking me that question.
Representative Shelia Stubbs, thanks so much for joining us.